Hello, we're back on Lichess. Gonna play some 3-minute, 5 games per usual. Let's play a Petrov. Haven't played that for a while. Knight f6, counterattacking e4. When they take, you push the knight back. Don't play queen e7 immediately, for reasons. d5 here. Bishop d6 is the move I play. Bishop f5 and other moves are also possible. My computer would like to update. Castles, castles. The idea for black is I'm just trying to show that this knight is a strength, not a weakness. If they play knight c3, you always want to take on c3. Then I like taking on c4, because if they take, they'll leave us with an isolated pawn. And now pinning their knight seems good. I think bishop f5 is also a move. Maybe I should have gone with bishop f5. I think that is the move Selecki recommends in his repertoire. Now, I'm not sure which way I want my knight to go. If the queen's going to come there, maybe I'll harass the queen now that the queen's not in the pin. See where it goes. Now maybe queen a5. Sometimes the queen can shuttle over to the king side. And I guess contest the open file. Not sure where my queen's going to go. Could be a little awkward. f7's not hit yet, so I will just play b5. Then I'll have to worry about c4 once their bishop moves, so maybe I'll play queen c7 after. That looks like a reasonable square to tuck away. If c4, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it. Maybe a6. Just try to keep my pawns together. And then if they ever play d5, I have moves like knight c5. So I think I can keep my pawns together. Not sure. Alright. I guess a6. They can play c4 now. Not sure how I'm going to respond to that. If they take, I think I'm... Ooh, I don't know if I'm taking back. Let's take back a, just because I think it's a little simpler. Either rook they take, I recapture with the other one. They don't have immediate invasion. It's important to note I can't take one of their rooks, because if I take here, they respond with check here. And if I take here, they respond with check here. So I can't break the tension, which means white should probably leave it, because it leaves me in an uncomfortable position each turn. I will probably end up moving this rook away, maybe to b8 or c8, because I think I want to keep contesting the e file. Alright. Now I think I'll take, because rook b8 after comes with tempo. And I would like to get one of my rooks off the file so that I can trade without inviting disaster. I have bishop b4 here. And the queen has somewhat limited squares, but bishop b4 blunders because of rook e1. So I'm going to trade first just to make sure I don't drop anything. And then maybe bishop b4, maybe knight f6. Think about knight e4. I'm not sure what I actually ever end up attacking. Okay, so if they take on g6, they might get the two bishops. So I want to just make sure they don't by swapping off a pair of bishops. And that way, I think no matter what happens, my position shouldn't be able to get too bad. Still a little worse here, I think. Yeah. So now they start threatening bishop d5, or bishop moves and then something to c6. That's a point. I guess I'll try... No, rook b1, rook takes, bishop takes, queen c1 at the end, hits the bishop and continues threatening bishop d5. If I move the knight, they have knight c6, queen c6, bishop f7. So okay, I'm going to reinforce the knight. This is trouble, but hopefully I avoided some of the pitfalls here. Sometimes I'll now threaten queen takes e5 with the rook opening up on d2 if my knight has moved. Do I have f6? f6. bishop d5, rook d5, rook c6, queen c6, knight c6, rook g5, and I'm up material, up a lot of material. I think they blundered. I don't see a way out. Okay, I'm going to take back rook. Taking back pawn would drop my queen. If they take with their knight on c6, they never have any threats. They can't actually retreat the queen to somewhere that would hit my rook. And if they could, then they could play queen takes d5 here and use the pin. But now, I should just be up material. Don't mind losing this pawn. I'm going to try to keep it, though. I can play bishop e8 after checks, and I don't see how they punish me. I'm going to play h6 and king h7. Ah, I blundered this. Fair enough. Alright. I should really not take long here because the game's now going to be determined mostly by speed. Maybe look at f2, try to play rook d2. Okay. They can play queen b1 check. Ooh, do I want my king to be hunted? Probably I didn't. Alright, I'm down to 3 seconds. Why did I take so long last move? I don't know. They can take the pawn here. Oops. Want to go to e3? Nope. Yeah, and we're just going to clock. Ooh, I hit queen d1 checkmate. That's funny. Yeah. I wanted to play queen e3 to keep them in the pin, but actually here I had checkmate and won. Alright, 0 for 1. Played very slowly at the end, even when I realized I was in trouble. But I think I never found much the whole game, and they played a pretty solid game. Probably, shouldn't be losing that game because my position's pretty reasonable most of the way, and I shouldn't fall that far back in time. But I also never really created much. Can I grab a second pawn? Let's not. Knight g5 feels weird, but with their bishop on f3, maybe it has some plausibility. Okay. They're going to deny my castling. And so I don't really want to actually trade my knight for that bishop. So I'm not sure what to do. Okay, I think d5 is important. Don't want to allow queen d6. When they start really keeping me tied to mate on e7. Maybe sometimes I play f6 and king f7 to connect the rooks. That actually starts to make a lot of sense here because I need to defend the e5 pawn as well. Bishop h5, g6, I don't see that ever being a real problem. So I'm probably trying to play king f7 soon. I don't really want to trade my knight for their bishop because then we get directly into opposite bishops. I would much rather trade the light-squared bishops. The knight on e6 seems good, blunts some e-file pressure, can potentially come to a useful square, and I want my king to come to f7, so I don't want my knight there. Alright. They are immediately trying to apply center pressure to my center. I think that's smart. I don't see a good way to handle it. Something like bishop b7 is going to be pestered by rook b1. d4, bishop c6 does not look like the sacrifice is right. So I guess I will head for opposite bishops, but now I've lost a lot of tempo on the previous line. Oh, and I just blundered a knight. Oh, wow. Okay, have to resign on the spot. Yep. 0 for 2. Ooh. Alright, so my position is actually pretty bad there. I didn't get my king out of the center fast enough. If my king's on f7, I don't have these problems. I'm going to play for d4. This is sort of a way to slide from English into the Maroczy. Here, if I want a Maroczy, I have to retreat, otherwise they take. You can also probably play knight b3. Maybe e3 is possible. But I like going into this kind of fianchetto Maroxy with bishop g2. I'm going to go for b4. I really wanted to play b3 and bishop b2, but it wasn't really justified. Maybe they'd queen e5, because then both c4 and c3 would be falling. Now I have a little more time to defend. Because I've expanded a bunch, like if their knight moves, this knight's hanging. Probably played this wrong, because knight g4, have to take, and then they take on c3. I can save the knight, at least for the moment. Does that save it for long? Not really. Ooh, bishop h6, ooh, I don't like that. Alright, I'm going to try to sack an exchange and hope I can pull out my knight, otherwise I'm just losing a rook here. This has been a disastrous session. I guess bishop e3. If bishop c4, maybe queen c2 grabs something, but not really, they just take on a1. So bishop c4, rook c1, yeah. So they can't take on c4. They take on a1, their king potentially has some trouble, so they're just going to say my knight's trapped. Kind of agree. Alright, queen c1 temporarily holds c4 and h6. So it seems worth a try. Maybe bishop f3 coming. If their queen can be driven away, my knight gets an escape square. And I would like my knight to have an escape square. So like bishop f3. Alright, now I can take here with check. Does it do anything? Let's start hitting their queen. So I really would like to pull out my knight. Yeah, queen e5. Guess queen c1. Keep the pawn. Ooh, miserable run. Just getting whomped every game. Except the first one, which was a pretty bad one to lose, but... Huh. That gives my knight a lot more outs in general, and also really weakens their light squares. So... knight g4 now, if they take, I really feel like my bishop is pretty good. If they play f5 ever, then g5 is loose. And also there's potentially stuff here. Maybe I never have time for it. Let's come to f3. They can play bishop f4, but now I have bishop here with the idea of bishop c3. That's a real threat. Alright, let's force them to put something in the way. And maybe if they play like e5, I can undermine it with c5 a bit. Maybe I want to line up more against it first. So yeah, start with queen b2. They can play g4. I'll probably put the bishop on d5. Keep it active, make sure f3 doesn't entomb it. Though I do have to worry about getting mated on g2 there, so I gotta be careful. Because I'm not getting mated if I keep my bishop on like h1, but also my bishop could get locked out of the game forever there. Threatening rook takes d6, maybe threatening c5. c5 looks good. If dc5, rook d8, bishop c6, and I threaten bishop e5. Keep the bishop active. Okay, I think I want to take back h. Ooh, I could have been taking on f4. Their e5 pawn was just pinned. I didn't really consider that, and I definitely should have. I don't know if it would have been good, but it should have been on my radar. One random scheme that almost certainly won't come into play is king g2, rook h1. If they play knight d4, I have rook takes d4, e d4, bishop d4, d5, probably just take bishop. Maybe rook. Okay, I can just take this though. Important to take rook, not bishop, so I can get the pin on their queen. Yeah, and now check. And I'm going to take on e5, and I win the queen. And hey, we got out of one. Alright, not a complete disaster of a video. Some redemption. Alright, we'll give a rematch. 1 for 3. Go for a Budapest if I get the chance. Did not. Bishop f4, the Jobava. Bishop g5. Alright, I feel this move has to be trying to get rid of defenders of e4, so I'm going to try to keep control over e4. Alright, they're really going to play for it. I'll make sure my defender is reinforced. If I play e6, I walk into a pin. I thought they were going to delay this. I'll try taking. I don't see it. Try not to be afraid of ghosts. I don't love e3 against gambits or d3 against like the Smith-Morra gambit, but here it seems a little awkward for them because they really want their central pawns. And now they don't have one, and I can start developing pretty actively. Knight b6, do I want a castle? Maybe c6. Give my queen options to get in. Yeah, I thought they might go for this storm with h4 now. And thus I wasn't sure I wanted to castle into it. Alright. On bishop d6, I thought knight e4 at some point could inconvenience my bishop. So I thought I'll come back to this square. Maybe queen a5 can threaten bishop a3 sometimes. This is I think, pretty solid kind of... I'll just make sure I have e6 well under control. Caro-Can Scandinavian-ish structure. I'd love to play rook c8 next. Now I threaten bishop takes a3, because this bishop's vulnerable. Alright, they'd hit me with f5 there, but I have bishop e4, kind of sneaking past the pawns to take advantage of the square just opened. And I'm really threatening bishop a3. So I guess here I'll take and then play it. They have like g6 type moves and f5 type moves, but I am now threatening to take on c3 because this pawn's pinned. So even if they don't take my bishop... Yeah, so they get out of the pin. Where do we want to go? It's important because they're threatening some things. g6, f5 mostly. So bishop d6 leaves e6 so much looser. I would love to have time for g6 myself. Okay, I'm going to come here. If g6, I'll play f5 and try to shut down everything. And if f5, I don't know. I can't castle. I guess I take. And they take d5. Ooh. Alright, let's defend d5. Sometimes I have queen f4 check, if they happen to put something on a vulnerable square. Alright, they're inflicting the weakness. That makes sense. Nah, this position's tough. I don't know. g6, knight f8 feels kind of natural, but at some point they give up the rook and then probably crash through with the queen. So maybe rook f8, try to trade a pair of rooks while I can. Also, if this rook is gone, c3 is a little looser, and I might have like rook takes c3 followed by queen a3 sometimes. Okay. Guess g6, try to solidify. If rook e3, I didn't think ahead far enough. Yep. Alright, e5, if they have to take back pawn, they close their key attacking file. Now maybe I threaten d4 in some universe. The e5 pawn kind of gets in their own way. Alright, don't see much choice. Knight b6. Bishop f6, I'll leave it. I just don't want to do anything that opens the game up. I have a threat. I almost have multiple threats, because I almost threaten knight b2, bishop b2, queen c2, but they're queen. Anything fancy? We go for b5, b4. There's tactics in the air. I just don't think they work for me. Also still looking maybe to play d4 someday, that they have that very well under control. Just throwing out ideas. Rook f3, if it distracted the queen, maybe could be followed by knight b2. Because if king b2, queen a3 might have potential. Well, I'm not even sure that's getting me anywhere. So I guess I'm just playing for b4. Okay, they do threaten g6. But I think I want to go for it. They threaten d5 as well. That's a bigger problem. Okay, blundered that. Yeah, alright. Now allowed rook d7. Maybe I can take on c3 and then take on b2. Guess I gotta take something. Maybe queen c6, at least their rook is pinned to their queen. Just hoping for a miracle. Try to distract their queen from their rook. Looking to play queen a2 next. They have queen f7 and rook d1, and I can resign. They didn't find it. This is good enough for them. Queen a1 has no follow-up. Hope they try to run with the king. But not that way. Okay. 1 for 4. And I was kind of lucky to get the one I got. Ooh, bad session. Alright, let's play e4. When in doubt, do stuff you're comfortable with when not rolling. So here I think the fork trick's pretty good. If bishop f2, then I'm just going to get a huge center. I think a lot of players play this instead of just allowing knight e5 and d4. But actually, because white doesn't then have to trade the pawn to get one of the pieces back, white now just gets a huge center for not very much. Queen f6 check's probably best. I think g3 just helps me. Am I wrong? Don't think I'm wrong here. Because I'm just going to win time back hitting their pieces that are quite exposed. So now bishop e2, and then h3. I think this looks winning. The knight's pinned. Yeah, looks pretty good. I guess knight e4 because bishop f3 comes with tempo, which gives me time to bring something to the e-file, and I can displace their king. Yeah, so let's now switch over to attacking the king, threatening queen e8, or queen e7 and then e8. So if they play f6, queen e7 comes first, and then I guess queen d8. It's a shame I can't move the queen anywhere with a really devastating discovery. But I think I could trade queens, and I am up a piece, but I think their king is a lot more vulnerable than mine. So let's see where their queen goes, and then maybe I'll just come back. But maybe I'll try to displace their queen first. Start with g5. Just start running their queen low on squares. They have to be able to presumably come back to e6, or I have this queen e3 or queen e2 with threats of mate on the back. Okay, so I like queen e3, because now queen there is met by queen a3 and I have check. Maybe I should have found this earlier and was making too many moves chasing their queen first. But now I get the full queen. And let's just keep putting our pieces on active squares. I could have taken on b7, I probably should have. Yeah, because once the rook's pushed away, my queen can take on a7. c6, a good square. Solid. Bishop takes d6 work. Not quite. cd6, queen d6, forks king and rook, but king g7 keeps everything defended, and queen e5 I don't think does much after. So, is there a way to make it work? I don't think so. So I'm going to play simple. Keep this pawn safe, so I'm now threatening a5. Maybe play c4 next. Just gain a little space. Not going to take a5 yet, because rook a8, and then they would get a2 potentially. Though my queen does have a way to come back. So I guess it's time to take. May swing the queen over to b2 so that this is a discovered check on their king. Their king has very few squares. G5 pawn's pretty good. Should have done reverse colors on those arrows. Yeah, I like queen b2 now, because I hit the rook, and if they play there, I have this discovered check. Now I have to be careful, because if I take the bishop, they are going to win my queen. Maybe this wasn't so great for me, but I guess I'll just defend the pawn. Happy to trade my queen for 2 rooks, because I'm up ample material. I don't see where the bishop goes particularly. Is it going to run out of squares? Looks pretty low on squares. They probably have to take on a2 to extricate the bishop, but of course they're down a rook and a bishop after that. They're saying to take it, you'll have to lose your queen. That is true. So I will start pestering the rooks. Maybe bishop d4. Just think about bishop h8. Okay. Where's the king go? Does it want to come out this way? This feels very dangerous, but I don't actually see... I'm going to threaten queen h8. Maybe queen f6 now, threaten queen f7. Okay, we'll just trade rooks. I'm sure there was something more efficient here, but... I mean, the game's... When you're up a queen and a bishop, you can be very inefficient, and it is enough. Try to get my bishop back in the action with tempo against their rook. Yeah, okay. It was just someone who doesn't resign. Good thing I didn't pre-move bishop f6. Notably, they always have the h-pawn tempo. If I keep playing checks, I will never stalemate them. Check, and this is a better checkmate. Alright, 2 for 5. Don't think I played great. Definitely not giving a rematch to someone who, you know, it's not like a huge waste of your time, but like there are positions that are just hopeless, and if people play on, I feel much less obligation to give a rematch. I think, in general, my opinion on etiquette on rematches is if you beat someone and you clearly got lucky, maybe you flagged them when you were ahead, which is not pure luck, but feels, you know, a little lucky, when they were ahead, I mean, or if they made just a one-move blunder from a good position, you should probably give a rematch. And generally, if you beat someone and they want a rematch, I think it's nice to give a rematch. If they beat you, I figure you have no obligation, and you can choose to play a rematch if they want one. You can choose not to. I think either way is fine. There are certainly people who disagree with me on this, but I feel hitting and running is pretty rude. But if someone beats you, why do you have obligation to play them again? Feels like if you beat them, maybe give them another chance. But people who you beat who just don't resign and extend the game when just the game's obviously over, like when they're making moves like bishop takes b3, I think the etiquette there is you don't have to give them a rematch. I also, you know, avoid rematches against people who are unlikely to move my rating very much. Because, oops, didn't mean to click them. Because just like, I care a bit about my rating and I want it to move. And when I'm playing well, I want it to have a chance to move. And if you play games for 1 rating point a game, it feels not very indicative of how well you're playing. So that's my opinion on giving rematches. There are certainly other opinions, but I think I see a lot of players who they beat a higher rated player and instantly decline the rematch, right? Where like they pretty clearly got lucky in the game and just are like, I'm going to get out of there. And I think it's polite to give the rematch if the other player wants it. I think if you lose, there's not that same obligation. And I think if your opponent was clearly a bad sport, doing things like running out the clock and then asking for a rematch, or just didn't resign when they certainly could have, you know, no obligation to give a rematch there.